Welcome to another edition of FUTStock, where we discuss all things FIFA Ultimate Team. I am Matt Aguilera.
And I am Matt Metz-Lambourne.
Ooh, and this week, that who come from? Bit camp, wasn't it? This week we're going to be discussing an awful lot about FIFA 17. We've had quite enough time to figure out where we are, whether we're good, bad or shithouses at the game. We're also going to be talking about our latest team projects. We're going to be spending an awful lot of time talking about squad building challenges. Maybe this could be called SBC stock. That's how much we've been doing with the squad building challenges. And of course, we're going to be giving you our general game playing tips. Now we've actually got some. Yeah, you've been waiting for them. And the patented Novelty Player of the Week. Novelty Inform of the Week. So, Metz, I think you should kick us off after my overly energetic introduction by saying, so we're almost a month in with FIFA 17. How have you been finding it now?
I'm really enjoying it. I think it's fair just to make it clear to the people listening that we're slightly late this week because we were doing real life stuff this weekend. We went to the Play Expo in Manchester and then spent the night at Arcade Club in Bury when we should have been doing a live podcast together.
We got drunk for the first time in like a year.
Yeah, we had several beers. It was great fun. So we apologise for being slightly late this week, but we'll be back on track for next week. But we played slightly less FIFA than we would have done normally in the last week or so because we've been doing other stuff, God forbid. But I'm up to about 50 matches played now. The same minor issues exist that are niggling the overall player experience, such as the input lag and why people don't seem to be able to head the ball out if it's smacking them in the chest for some reason, slow reactions, that sort of stuff. But I'm still convinced that the core of the game is very good and I'm really enjoying the game in general. And I'm hoping once patch 1 comes around, it will be everything I hoped and expected it would be. But I'm really enjoying it today. And I guess it's fair to say that we always attach our overall feelings of the game based on how well we're performing in the game. So the fact that I'm winning obviously helps, put it that way.
Oh, it definitely does, because you'd be the first person to say how bad it was if it wasn't going well for you. It's because, let's face it, there isn't much joy in losing. I don't care who you are. When you're still getting used to FIFA Ultimate Team, the next version that comes out, it's tough. It's difficult. And I found it to be... I mean, I'm not in love with this FIFA. I mean, I said last episode, my opinion's been changing around. I don't think it's incredibly shit anymore, but I think it's distinctly average how it plays right now. I don't enjoy it. I don't truly enjoy it.
You're not enjoying the game, but you are loving squad building challenges, which we're going to get to a bit later.
Yeah. I mean, there's other residual things going on within FIFA Ultimate Team that's great. And I have probably spent more time doing squad building challenges, which I find unfathomable if you'd said that to me a couple of months ago, because I don't do that many squad builders. I never really was into it like you were. I used to just want to play the game. I played like a ridiculous amount of FIFA last year. So I've played just shy of 40 games. I don't have a winning record right now, which is very frustrating. But we're only like, 40, 50 games in. That's not really that big of a deal. It's neither here or there right now. It's plenty of time to get that. I'm still finding the same issues I wish I'd made more of a note of this, because a couple of things I noticed today that still just aren't quite right. The ball in the box. When the ball
it's a bit pinball-y in the box.
No, I don't find it pinball-y. I find that basically no one can react. It's basically, there's things that are wrong with it that I always think like people just don't dare to say that there's actually massive issues. If it was any other game, you would be saying just how bad it was. That's one of them. Like
why do you think that is, though? Do you think people are too emotionally attached to be honest about how they feel about the game?
I think it's just there's a big, massive cognitive bias that comes with FIFA 17, unfortunately, because it is the only true footballing choice. You've kind of got to love it, because otherwise you're not going to play a football game all year. That's the situation I'm in. For example, me and you put PES on again when you came over to Manchester, and we sat down and we played it, and we were very earnest about it. And I thought, do you know what? This isn't even as great as I remembered. When I first played the demo, if you can remember rightly, I said, actually, it's a really decent game. it's not going to be enough to take me away from FIFA. But I thought maybe it could be, but it isn't. So I think that's a large part of it. It's just that there's a bit of Stockholm syndrome there. We're addicted to FIFA Ultimate Team, pack openings, making coins, trading, squad building, and then there's this faction of the actual game. And I mean, I'd give it a 6 out of 10 as things stand right now, maybe even a 5. I'm still, coming around again. I'm certainly more on the side of disappointed because you all know I love FIFA. You know I play it a lot, and I don't see that. I see that as time invested that I've enjoyed doing. Do you know what I mean? But with this one, there's just certain things that happen within the system that just aren't right. And one of the biggest ones is just how it reacts in the box. So many times, people are just, every player's slow to get to the ball. There's certain situations like where you knock a long through ball or a long ball, and your nearest player doesn't react to it at all. That happens so many times.
I've seen that a few times as well.
And that also happens in defence as well. Defending is like, it's always become, especially in the limited amount of matches I've done, nearly 40, basically it all becomes a challenge to figure out which winger they're going to go for because your defence will be stretched. Like defending on it is ridiculously bad.
It's very different, and that's something we're going to cover in gameplay tips a bit later on in the episode. But if you were, let's say you've only played FIFA 16 historically, and then you jumped into this, you're going to find it frightfully different. So if you're out there and you're really struggling to play FIFA 17 effectively at the moment, don't panic. Most people are, to be fair, and I'm sure you'll get there with a bit more practice, but it does take a bit more hard work to adjust to this FIFA than previous ones, I think. But for what it's worth, I'm enjoying it. But just to touch on the point that you said about FIFA being the only viable football game option now, it's important to realise that there was a bit of news in the last week or so since we were last on the air about the gulf in between FIFA and PES in terms of the sales, which I've always considered it to be much closer. Certainly that FIFA via EA has always been much more popular in terms of the sales, but I thought that PES historically was much more competitive. However, it's come to light that FIFA in its first week sold well over 1 million, and PES always sold 50,000.
50,000. It's just, I don't understand why PES still exists. I think it should just be put out to pasture and killed off. I know there's a niche of people that play it, but fucking hell, 50,000 people for a game that is...
Do you think they're just being hipsters at this stage? By clinging onto the game that's just not up to scratch, either aesthetically with lack of license or the actual game itself?
Well, I mean, some people genuinely enjoy PES. I mean, we played PES up until 2008 where they fucked it up royally and FIFA just basically got a massive head start on them and completely obliterated them. And it's been that way for a long, long time. And I think since FIFA 15, really, obviously, I'd have liked PES to be a viable alternative because I play it, but then there's so much more that FIFA offers to you other than the actual physics and game engine. It's got so much more to it. It's become a living, breathing organism almost. Like it's with how competitive it is. The community.
It's a whole suite of different games now. It's not just the bare bones FIFA that we used to play when we were kids.
Precisely, and that's a benefit. It's a massive benefit to us as people who sit down and play the game. So I think why people are drawn to PES is they must genuinely feel like it's a better experience. They must do. As things stand, I've not played PES online. I hear it's not that great. It historically was never good online.
Yeah, PES has never been good online, which is the reason why I got out of it, primarily speaking. I got to a stage in the late 2000s in particular where I only wanted to play online games. I want to play against people, I want to test myself against intelligent opponents. And PES never provided a good service for that. It was sometimes adequate, but it was never great. FIFA's always been pretty good. I mean, we've had issues with premature releases and server issues from time, but the general experience of FIFA has always been good online. And just to confound that as even further for Konami, in the last week, EA's FIFA 17 in Japan hit #1 in the charts, which is unheard of.
I'm telling you now, PES, mark this down, there will be no PES 19 and there may well be no PES 80. They can't sustain it on that. I mean, Jesus, 50,000 copies. What? On average, you're talking £40 at retail. So that's, hang on, that's 200,000 times 10. So it's like it's 2 million in revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
I've had got that right. Did that in my head?
Yeah, let's just say it's not a great amount of money.
It's 2 million, which is fuck all.
EA juggernaut, put it that way.
Yeah, it's fuck all in the gaming world. 2 million. Now think about how many people work alone on PES in the UK in terms of its marketing, and that is ad placements, that is social media, there's some kind of community manager or something like that, some kind of equivalent, or brand advocate for Konami as well. So that's a wage bill there straight away. Then all the other countries in Europe. Then you've got Japan. Obviously, the 50,000 is just for the UK, isn't it? But you get my point. It's not selling well anywhere, and it's a shame because it will not make FIFA better. That's the biggest thing that happens. It's like when Rangers and Celtic, there was no more Rangers and Celtic games up in Scotland. It's exactly the same thing. Taking out Rangers from, I'm just talking purely from a competitiveness and for the good of the league in terms of its viewership. Whether you like Rangers or not my issue. I couldn't give a fuck. But them not being there was a bad thing. It made the league completely uncompetitive. At least there was Rangers and Celtic. If we take PES out of the equation and we're left just with FIFA, believe you me, we're not going to get a benefit from FIFA because it's going to be the only dog in town. It's been the only dog in town for years now, but at least it had the fear of losing some gamership, some share of the market. No, it's got nothing to fear. So they just piss themselves. And I don't want to see a day where PES dies because we may well be looking at basically FIFA becoming, it's great as it stands, isn't it? But in terms of what we get offered, but like I say, how this game engine is now, how it gets released in this fashion, I have no idea. It's so unpolished. There's so we talked about the inbox issues, but the biggest issue is still the lag. It's terrible. It's so shit.
Everyone gets issues with the lag. There's occasional frame rate issues. I don't know if you've experienced this, where the game speeds up. The game speeds up and you can't control anything for like 2 or 3 seconds, and all of a sudden it goes back to normal. I imagine that's an easy fix with a patch. But the fact that it's there and got released is really strange. It's I don't really know.
Frostbite, what a load of fucking shit. What has it done for me? What has Frostbite done for us? Let's have a think. Do I really fucking care if the players' faces look that little bit better? I play on the co-op camera anyway. Everybody's dead far away. I skip all the cutscenes. I never wanted better graphics for the 360. They were good enough on the 360 in that generation. Now we've got all these better graphics. Now we've got Frostbite. Now we've got all these fucking people in the crowd. But they can't maintain a frame rate in certain parts. I'll tell you this. I'll tell you the situations where I get frame rate issues. And obviously it should be optimized for the console. All your replays have stutter. Every single replay has a stutter. And I mean when you go into the highlights after you've gone into a game, you click on any of them, you get stutter in the frame rate. You can see quite clearly it's like smooth stutter, smooth stutter. It pauses ever so slightly. Then when you miss a shot and it goes past the post, the frame rate slows down then. That happens to me every single time. And I have it sometimes just randomly. The frame rate drops, and it's where it's on PC actually. It happens more on the PC version. And so, for those who may feel like I've got a bad PC, that's just, I'm not going to tell you what my spec is, because I can't be arsed, but trust me, it's very fucking decent.
Yeah, if your PC can't handle it, then they've got a problem, basically, in terms of minimum specs. So I think just to round that off, I'm quite pleased with it, but desire improvements. You're desperately clinging on to patch 1, otherwise you're going to be playing squad building challenges for the rest of the year.
I can't see me investing time in FIFA. I am genuinely worried about it. When Infinite Warfare comes out, which I anticipate will be great, and Modern Warfare itself is out as a remaster, which some people out there on the PS4 are playing right now in campaign. I'm sure they're having a great time. I don't have one. Once that comes out, what am I going to play FIFA for as it stands?
Yeah, fair point. I think we might have to start another YouTube show called FUTStock or something like that.
FUTStock. And get 8 thoughts come on going. I've seen these FUTStock motherfuckers.
Yeah, in that weird Scottish accent you just did. So let's have a quick chat about the teams that we're currently rolling, because I started off with a Russian RPL team as a starter, and I'm still finding that's my most effective team. I've got 3 on the go at the moment that I interchange for fitness and stuff like that. I'm pretty much settled on 4-1-4-1 being my formation of choice. I think it allows for a good combination of tiki-taka, target man play up front, and decent wing play. So I really like that. Lots of interplay in that formation if you've got good dribbling and passing midfielders. And my other 2 teams after the RPL, I've done a Liga NOS team. Now, the first one I did was shit, and I went on a really bad losing spree, but I've made a slightly better one now, and I'll talk a little bit about the players later. And then I've made a Premier League team based purely on work rates. So obviously I've picked good players, but ones who specifically apply to a work rate system that I wanted for the formation that we just talked about.
Perfect idea. I absolutely love it, and you've got to tell us more about it.
Okay, so let me just pull. I should have been prepared for this, shouldn't I? I'll pull it up on FUTStock. Sorry, Foothead.
Yeah. Sorry, yeah. We just have to say that just so we don't say Foothead at the beginning because we're used to it.
So I've got Butland and goal, and this particular formation I'm playing 3-4-1-2, which works.
3-4-1-2. I still haven't tried 3 at the back on this, so
it's tricky. It's really tricky, but
I can imagine it's
I don't keep many clean sheets, put it that way. But at the back, I've got Luis Hernandez of Leicester. The reason why I've gone for him because he's got 70+ pace and he has medium-high work rates. Now, ideally, I want low-high at the back, but I needed someone with 70+ pace to go in there, and medium-high was the next best after the other 2 that I've picked. And I've got Gabriel from Arsenal, who is low-high, 70 pace. He's okay. Then the monster at the back is Kebasele from Watford. Again, he's low-high, 78 pace, monster physical. He's probably the best value defender I've used on the game so far. He's excellent.
He is excellent, and he's tall as well, isn't he? Which, it does have its benefits of the system.
Yeah, and then on the right, I'm probably using Jesus Navas more, but ideally I want Shaqiri in there. But if I'm playing with a good target man playing crosses, it's better to have someone who's right-footed on the right rather than someone who cuts inside a lot. So it depends on how you play. But I would say for someone who, like me, likes to play crosses and headers, Navas is probably better. In the middle, Emre Can, who's just a great all-rounder. And I've gone for Leroy Fair converted to CM because I just find that high physicals, particularly in the midfield, are vital on this because there's a lot of extra physicality in this game compared to FIFA 16. So I like my midfielders to be at least 6 foot, decent physicals, and reasonable pace, which Fair has all round. So he's pretty good there. He's not very good on the ball, though. So you have to be careful of that one, and I may end up replacing him later. I'm going to save the person who's my left-sided player till we do Novelty Player of the Week because otherwise we talk about him twice, which I don't really want to do.
Yeah, true.
But it's a good, unexpected one, put it that way. The cam is Bojan, who's just ideal for the role.
Yeah,
he's got high-low work rate, so he's not dipping back into midfield at all. Oh, by the way, the CMs are all medium, so they're up and down the pitch and sort of stay in the centre where they should be. But Bojan's quick, he's a good finisher, great dribbler, and he's very diminutive in stature with 4-star skills, so he's really awkward to play against if you're a good dribbler. And then with the strikers, I like to have one that's very quick with high-low. So I've gone for Marcus Rashford, who's just a really good clinical player on this. Really enjoy using him. And then I've gone medium-low for a target man in the form of Wilfred Bonney, who's I've scored loads of goals with. Absolutely.
I can imagine being very decent on this, actually, Wilfred Bonney, because he's reasonably quick, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 70
got the
pace. Really good finisher, 82 for shooting overall, and his physicals are monstrous. He has 94 for strength, which is incredible, absolutely insane. And he's got high jumping and high heading, 86 and 84 respectively. So he's just a monster of a target man. And he's one of those players that's so unfashionable, no one's going to use him. So I doubt you'll come up against Wilfred Bonney too often, but I would recommend you use him if you can play target man pretty well. He's excellent.
That's an absolutely belting team, though, and I love the aspect of using the work rates because we've often, during FIFA's Lifeline, hypothesised about work rates and how important they are, but making a system that incorporates all that must be money. So you are getting good results with the system, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm winning lots of games with that one. We lost a couple out of about 15 or so. Went on a winning spree once I started this team. It was great. It's pretty cheap as well, to be fair. If you decided to, for instance, go for Shaqiri, he's probably the most expensive player in the team, or Rashford goes for about 9 to 10k. But there are cheaper alternatives. You could go for Callum Wilson, or
Callum Wilson, definitely.
Andre Gray or something like that, who probably do almost as good of a job. So it's up to you where you want to go with that one. But I highly recommend that team. And if you want to check it out in more detail, if you go onto foothead.com and search for FUTStock, you'll see a list of the squads I've built there, and this will be the highest one. It's called BPL WR squad for work rates. It's worth having a look at.
Perfect.
What are you playing with at the moment? Have you got anything worth telling us about?
What I've done onto is I'm definitely using 4-4-1-1 now. So CF and striker. I found that to be. I've used it in FIFA 16, and it works even better in this one because of the through balls. It's so much better now. So I've got a lot of joy from that. I have. I still feel very comfortable.
Well, you're still learning the game, so I wouldn't make it too results oriented. If you're enjoying playing with it, though, that's the most important thing. But who's your CF and striker out of interest?
Well, I'll start at the top then, shall I? My striker, I alternate between Slimani.
Oh, love it.
Slimani's amazing. Slimani's absolutely excellent in this game. He's basically Zlatan Ibrahimovic without 4-star skills, of course. He's reasonably quick for a big man. His dribbling's all right, but I stick Hawk on him, and he's just a monstrous finisher. So strong. I've scored so many goals of him. And the CF, I've not really settled on one. I've used Amrabat. He's all right. I love Bojan. I think Bojan's amazing on it. And I also use Lanzini sometimes, where he's a lot more lightweight than all of them put together. He's probably, in lots of ways, when he's got the ball, probably the best one because he's much quicker, except for Amrabat. But he isn't as strong, so that's a bit of a shame, really. But my midfielders, I'm going for now, still Conte.
Yeah, everyone I watch on Twitch has Conte in the team.
He's fucking great. He's so good. He really, really is. So well-rounded, very quick for a midfielder. I've scored goals with him. He's a great passer. All that good stuff. And then my next midfielder is the special Gareth Barry.
Okay, so this is like a 24-hour dream team that you've made here then.
Yeah, it cost me a lot of money, 20k in the end, all these squad building challenges.
Yeah, definitely a discard player that you paid double the price because it's a squad builder challenge. Yeah,
and he's got a blue and purple card, so woo! So the reason for him is he's left-footed in midfield, which I appreciate. Left-footed midfielders, I do use them. I find it makes it easier to ping the ball to your left side. It makes perfect sense to me. Just when you receive the ball and shield, Gareth Barry's very good at that. I stuck Catalyst on him, which improves his pace, which is shy anyway. Makes his passing like basically he's like a strong Pirlo. He's actually brilliant, the Daisy Free card, if you don't mind him not having pace, especially with I would say a Shadow or a Catalyst. I went for Catalyst because I wanted the extra pinging and passing. He scored on his debut, so he can't be that bad.
There we go. Nice results-based thinking there.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, brilliant. Left winger, Balassi. What hasn't Balassi got that you need in a winger? He could be a bit quicker. He could be a bit more deft on his feet. But all in all, he's fantastic.
Is it still like it was last season, whereby if someone played Balassi on the left, he would basically play like an auxiliary fullback, so it was like double defensive pain in the arse?
I found him to be like that, yeah. And that's what... And obviously we'll be using a flat 4-4. That's why I like it, because it means that your midfielders your wide midfielders have a chance to drop back rather than being wingers where they stay up top, which is great, but I'm still getting used to the system, so I need every bit of help getting back that I can. And because there's definitely an issue with the wide area when it comes to defending, that's greatly welcomed. But my right winger, change all the time. I haven't got a starter. I've tried Faguli, great. Oxlade-Chamberlain, great. Somebody else, but
I've got an untradeable Oxlade-Chamberlain who I use as an impact sub. He's fantastic.
Yeah, he's really good. Oh yeah, Nathan Dyer. They're all good. I mean, I think Nathan Dyer is probably my favourite just because he's Nathan Dyer and I love him.
Yeah,
he's that good.
Our novelty player of the week from last season with agility and balance and pace more than Messi. So check it out.
Yeah, he's well decent. And then when it comes to the flat back four, I've got a left back. Still using, I'm using Suarez or whatever his name is from Crystal Palace and Master. I'll just rotate them. Both decently strong, reasonably quick left backs. There's not many of them in the Premier League, apart from Van Arnholt, and he's expensive.
Mm-hmm.
Cabasele's the other centre back now. Jeff Cameron, who I think is really good, but you're not convinced.
The mighty Jeff Cameron.
Yeah. I also bring in Shawcross sometimes as well, because Shawcross is very good on it, because what he doesn't have in pace, he makes up for all of his physicals as he's defending. Yeah, he's a bit tasty. And then right back, I've been using Barry all the way through because of his loan, but that expired a while ago. So I've been using Manquillo. And an untradeable Bakary Sagna I got, so he's in there. And my goalkeeper is an untradeable Begovic, who I have no plans to change for quite some time.
Begovic is always like a good low budget fixer for a BPL team. He's always good enough to see through the whole duration of the game if you don't have a lot of points. He's like the sort of entry level beast goalkeeper.
Last year, I used to come up against him all the time, Begovic, and I used to say to myself, why have I even got like De Gea? I had De Gea for ages and ages and ages, pretty much all the way through the game. It's like, why have I got De Gea for? Begovic is just like almost as good, if not just as good, it seems like, anyway. Goalkeepers must have watched this on this game. I wouldn't advocate anybody spend a lot of money on them.
Well, I don't endorse paying hundreds of thousands for players like Neuer or legend keepers or anything, because you just don't get good value for them. But there is some value in getting a really solid keeper, someone that you can, even if it's just psychological, that you have some trust in, is going to save you at least a couple of times a game. Because for me, the best keeper I've both played against and witnessed in my own team making incredible saves is Jack Butland. There's something about the card that makes him seem way better than an 82 rated keeper. He's absolutely phenomenal, so acrobatic.
Yeah. I've used him as a lone player.
He's got no right to save.
Butland is very good, but I can't say I noticed the difference with Begovic versus Butland. I can't say it's like every time I see Begovic, I think, oh God, if I had Butland, that would have been different. I don't know. They're both very tall keepers, aren't they? The pair of them, aren't they 6'6" or 6'5" or something?
Yeah, something like that. And of course, Stoke City tend to agree with you. Have Begovic or Butland, it makes no difference whatsoever.
Yeah. I think they're both fantastic players. With that, then, there's something we need to talk about. And I think this is something I'm sure you're incredibly passionate about. I don't have any yet. Not informs. It's the ones to watch, the whole new system they've brought out where they've picked out a squad of players and they said, right, these are the ones we back to be the ones to watch, where if they get an inform, they scale up, basically. And to answer a question that we keep getting on Twitter, and I don't mind spoiling it up top, when's the best time to sell one to watch? When it gets another inform. Like what?
Yeah, we've had a few people asking me when they should sell one to watch, and I dare say it's pretty obvious. I mean, what are you meant to do? No, sell them when their inform's gone by. So when all the hype's gone, do that instead. Yeah,
great idea.
To be fair, without sounding disrespectful to some of the people who ask us for help, they just want confirmation of what they're already thinking. So instead of saying, when's the best time to sell one to watch? I'm thinking of selling my one to watch today because the guy just got an inform. You think that's the correct thing to do? And obviously, yes.
Yeah. You're very right about that. That's very true.
So let's just take, for instance, not this particular team of the week that's just come out today at the time of recording, but last week there was several one to watches in the team of the week, and the market went crazy once EA put the announcement out on Twitter and all the usual sources, some of them like doubled or even tripled in price. For instance, Huiano, who's kind of like the darling of the game so far, he seems to be extremely popular because no one played with him last year, despite him being just as good. But he was in the Brazilian league, so no one gave a shit. But he was going for about 30 to 40 before the Team of the Week announcement last week, and then he skyrocketed to 100 and went like stone dead on the market for a brief period of time. And I, admittedly, I'm supposed to be like the trading guru or whatever. I panic bought one for 90k, and an hour later it was back down to like 50, 60. So I felt like an absolute tit. But the important thing is, though, it's an excellent card, and I do intend to keep it at least till much later in the season because I expect you'll get a few informs, although the Russian League does have a mid-season break at some point, so he's going to be out of the loop for a while. But ones to watch, they're a curious thing because a lot of them are players who aren't going to get many informs. Like, for instance, again, I'm spoiling what we're going to talk about next with squad building challenges slightly here, but I did a squad building challenge and packed a one to watch Morata, which was awesome. Sold him for like 75k. And people say, "Oh, you're going to keep him? He looks pretty good." And I'm like, "Well, no, because he's not even a starter for Real Madrid a lot of the time. He will not get more than a couple of informs this season, I doubt." So I can't see a time where his informs are selling for more than the price of that one to watch card as it was at that point. So I just instantly sold it. And I'm pretty glad I did. And even if it does turn out that he gets informs, like I won't regret that decision because it seemed correct at the time. And then there's like people like Leroy Sané, who's not getting in the Man City starting 11, for instance, and several other ones. So it's a really tricky business, ones to watch. And I think a lot of people are going to get caught because they're probably used to the systems with informs whereby the longer you hold on to them, typically the more value you get. But I don't think that's necessarily going to be the case with these. I reckon all the hype was right at the beginning. And there's only a few of them who are going to get regular informs. So Higuain, for example. Let's see, who else do we have? And Bolo's already got his. Arcadius Milik probably. There's a lot of defenders and a lot of midfielders there who aren't going to get them. For instance, let's see, Gaetan. I really like him on Ultimate Team in general, but he's not a prolific earner of informs. And Atletico are like a 1-0 team most of the time, so his opportunity to score goals are quite slim. Krychowiak, great player. They don't get many informs, though. He's the type of player who rocks up for a Team of the Year card occasionally. Mustafi, even Kante, he didn't get an informal last season. He got into the Team of the season, and maybe it'll pay off by that point. But I'm sure you could have sold him at the beginning for more and then bought him back before Team of the Year and made a shitload of money.
Yeah, I don't. It's a nice idea, but like you say, doing like defenders and all that, we know what EA are like. Unless they like score a goal, Kante's not going to score many goals. He's not a goal scorer anyway. He's not like a goal scoring hero midfielder.
No, he's abysmal going forward. You know, he carries the ball well and obviously breaks up the play tremendously, but you don't get informs for that.
Yeah, because they don't give a shit about that kind of, unless he gets like a man of the match in an FA Cup semi-final, for example.
Yeah, potentially he might get man of the matches, I guess, but even last year, when he was the best midfielder in the league last year, he didn't get one.
Yeah, exactly. So it's all very curious. Obviously, the best investments are always going to be your wide players, your attacking midfielders, and your strikers. And even then, you've got to have the nous to say, like, for example, Morata, yeah, he could get a break in the team and go on a nice purple patch, but as things stand, they aren't really playing him. And we all know the main man's Ronaldo, and Ronaldo pretty much is going to be playing as a striker, as we found out.
Yeah, this particular Team of the Week is pretty incredible. Ronaldo as a striker is going to do all sorts of crazy shit to the market. And the Team of the Week itself in general is stacked. So not that we advocate spending loads of money on packs. We try and get you there through a bit of hard graft and trading. But if you were going to do it at any point this season, this week might be the best one to do it. Like, there's just so many good ones like Arnautovic in there, which is obviously great for us because we support Stoke. And Ronnie and Muller, all these players that always go for big money. So it might be worth having a go at packs. But I'm thinking with ones to watch, like you said, focus on strikers and attacking wide players if you're going to put your money into them. I wouldn't advise putting it into defenders or defensive midfielders because they're just not going to get the cards often enough to get a return on your investment. So the type of player I think you are looking at is Mane at Liverpool. Mm-hmm. They're scoring so many goals, they will get informs. Sansone at Villarreal, he's like their main man, so good chance he'll get some. I think EA have a bit of a hard-on for Renato Sanchez at Bayern, so because he's like the new young Pogba-type midfielder, he'll probably get one when he perhaps even doesn't deserve one. And Arkadiusz Milik, because I don't think he's going to be that expensive, but he's kind of like a baby Higuain, so there's a good chance he could get some as well. The rest of them, if they're like your favourite player, buy one and buy with the intent of playing in your team. If you get a chance to flip him for profit later on, great. If not, I'd just stay clear, to be honest. I think there's a lot of hype in these cards that isn't warranted at this point. And unless they do start scoring informs, you're basically just buying a very expensive version of their bog standard card, which is just a massive waste of money.
Yeah, it's a great point. And what we've seen with these informs, it's all well and good at the top end, but the bottom end is somehow being ignored. We need to really talk about the future of what's going on with the bronze and silvers. They've basically killed them off, if I'm not mistaken. I can't see a way of bronze and silvers becoming relevant now. There's no tournament. There's only a daily tournament. There's one. That's fine. I don't mind that system. And going into the weekend league, that's great. But there's no like bronze cup anymore. There's no silver cup. There's no. Yeah, it's a bit.
Yeah, I wonder if this is something to do with trying to get people who play at the bottom end of the game to spend more money, because there's nothing competitive that you can do with bronze and silver unless you're prepared to play bronze and silvers against golds and just enter the regular like tournaments and leagues and stuff. But generally, you've got no home to play, which is a really big shame, because I think the most enjoyable experiences playing Ultimate Team come at silver, where it's not the same predictable gameplay over and over again, pace wars. It actually requires a bit of nonce to play it properly. And most people that you can get to experience it.
Did you say nonce?
You know what I mean.
Yeah, but you know what a nonce is.
Yeah, I know.
Be a nonce to play silver.
Yeah. The bronze and silvers. I'm a fan, but
yeah.
They've got nowhere to go and play anymore. So at the moment, bronze and silvers are purely a mechanism for trading, for squad building challenges, where you can trade them up to gold level players. And that's a cute mechanic. I like that. Nothing wrong with it. But people generally do enjoy playing with bronze and silvers. I think it's a great way of learning the game, because if you go in relatively inexperienced at gold, you can get torn apart pretty quickly, whereas you can learn some fine aspects of the game from playing bronze and silver. But one thing I expect will happen eventually, and it hasn't happened too much to date, is they'll start expanding on the novelty sort of aspect of tournaments. And at some point, you're going to have like qualifiers for the weekend league where you might have to play bronze and silvers, or specific bronze and silver squad building challenges. So like yesterday, where we had this one with Gareth Barry, and we were required to dip into the championship, weirdly enough, to get players, which was quite novel and unusual. And if they do a particular player, let's say you get some sort of landmark, I don't know, let's say Ross McCormack scores 50 goals or something this year, just as an extreme example.
All the Villa fans are crying right now. If any of that could be true,
yeah,
might
that's
get
not happen,
relegated again.
Yeah, it's far more likely that a Newcastle player would do that. But anyway, let's just say that they decided to do a squad builder around a lower level player, and that's going to involve a lot of silvers and bronzes for squad building, for potential tournaments to go around that. So I think there's something in it there. Eventually, they just don't give a fuck about it right now, because they just want you plowing money into golds. So they've just completely bottlenecked what you can do with bronze and silvers. You can use them for trade, and that's about it at this point, which is disappointing. But I think eventually something will occur there in the novelty area, particularly once we get towards the end of the season, where you tend to get the MLS All-Star tournaments and stuff like that. And you need a lot of bronzes and silvers for those. So I expect to see those at that sort of stage at least.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense.
And of course, paddies. We love paddies.
Yeah.
It's not too early to start planning your paddy squad. I'm already buying Bradley Armstrong's bad dozen. So get involved.
It is too early to do your bloody paddies.
It isn't. It really isn't. There's a good trade on them already.
Trade them already? Oh, okay. This game's weird sometimes. The thing I will say is that as things stand, pretty much bronze and silvers are dying before our eyes. And that's kind of sad. But I don't think it affects that many people, if I had to be truthful.
No, it doesn't, which is why they're doing it, I guess. They're justified by the lack of use of them over the last 2-3 years in particular. But my personal favourite experiences have come from playing silvers and Ultimate Team, not in recent years, but in the past. So I feel a little bit upset that they're not there now, but everyone's just happy playing gold, and that's the way the game's going to go. But if that's the case, let's not even have bronze and silvers. Let's just have them all on the same sort of class, but keep the ratings sort of as they are, but all one sort of pack. So you say you open a pack, you get the odd bronze and silver and a couple of gold sort of thing, but they're not actually bronze and silver. You know what I mean?
I understand exactly what you mean. I think that the big thing is that where's it going to go for me? That's what I keep thinking about. That's the way I see it. It's like, where can bronze and silver realistically go for me? They've pretty much set the stall out now. Oh, just as a segue that's a bit strange, because I haven't spoken about it. Have you played Foot Draft yet?
No.
Foot Draft.
Only because I'm not spending money on packs, so I'm inclined to save my coins for trading and squad building challenges, which are reaping massive rewards for me so far. So let's just use that as a segue to talk about squad building challenges, shall we? Since we're just not interested in Foot Draft.
Yeah, basically, squad building challenges, they're absolutely amazing. What can be said about squad building challenges?
But they have changed the game, literally.
Yeah,
and I'm going to put this out there right now, and you can tell me whether you agree with me or not, that outside of the elite level of trading, squad building challenges is what the entire market revolves around now.
It does. All we had before were team of the weeks and tournaments, and now we've got squad building challenges, and the effect it has on the market, because people actually like to do them, is massive. You can't get a Chelsea player right now for less than 2,800 coins. Any of them. None of them. Oh, excuse me. None of them are less than 2,800 coins for any Chelsea player, and that is thanks to the fact that you need a Chelsea player. In one of the challenges right now, you need 2. So it obviously affects the bottom of the end of the market quite a lot. So that means that a player that was going for about 600 coins now goes for 2,800. Think about it. That is such a big return. If you could have been 4C, and obviously you can make money if you get these players in packs. This is the one thing now. When you get a pack, you've got to look at everything.
Yeah, literally.
To make sure you haven't missed out on something.
But player-wise, anyway, there's absolutely no reason now to not list every player at least 800 bin now, including non-rares, because someone will need them for a squad builder. And because of the way that the squad builder is, you can't access the transfer market directly from a squad building challenge. You have to pull up a list of players, and you can't change the criteria. So you're always seeing that particular item whose sale is going to end nearest, if you know what I mean. So if there's 100 of a certain player, you're always going to see the first one in terms of which auction is going to end the soonest. And most people won't cycle through a dozen pages to try and find the cheapest one. If they like the price of what immediately comes up, they'll just buy it now.
Yeah,
because if you place a bid, like a regular bid, you have to exit the squad building challenge, go to your transfer list, put it into your club and go back, which takes quite a long time, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very cumbersome, actually. It's one of the things they need to change.
No, they don't know, because it makes people impulse buy it now every time, which is a major driver for the market at the lower level. So if they change that, they'll kill it. But if they carry on the way it's going, whereby to instantly put the player into your squad building challenge, you have to buy it now, and because cycling through those pages is such a cumbersome process in itself, players that typically wouldn't sell for more than discard are going for 800, 900, more than 1,000 now. So it really makes it a seller's market, which I fucking love as a trader. So
there's so many trading opportunities now.
I love squad building challenges because it's made so many players that were completely irrelevant to the game suddenly very valuable. It's absolutely fantastic. And if people are out there thinking, Mets, I want a trading tip, go to your transfer market, search for anyone with buy it now less than 600, and if they're
Just
gold,
flip 'em.
buy them and flip them for 900 straight away. I mean, occasionally you're going to get sniped because loads of people will be doing this, but people are still listing players far too low because they don't understand how squad building challenges work.
I picked up who did I pick up? Pretty cheap. Vimy for like 500 coins, which is way too cheap, even though he's a non-rare. He's not that great.
Yeah, last year he's a 300 coin player.
Yeah, okay. I flipped him instantly for 1,600 coins. Just like that. And just there's no effort to it whatsoever.
And even with the bronzes, like particularly Premier League ones.
Oh, Premier League bronzes, just get on it if you can find any cheap, and especially ones of open bids, you can just pick them up. You should be doing that anyway when you do these squad building challenges. My way of like trading, and it doesn't even take any effort, is if you're looking for like Rudy Gestett at this bloody challenge right now, this is like 20. There's not many of them, so there'll be like 20. There'll be a few up front who've got open bids. Just keep buying them on open bid, and people just list them too high anyway. And then you can list them for like 4,000 coins, and people just say, "Oh fuck it, that's the cheapest one right now."
Yeah,
just go for
very
it.
Impatient. I love the way it's encouraging people to be sloppy on the transfer market, because one thing, and I said this in the first episode of this season, people are very lazy when it comes to listing things on the transfer market. You stop deleting that. I need that. People are very late. You keep deleting the thing.
Okay, fine.
Right. Anyway, so yeah, people are really lazy on the transfer market. So what they do is they'll list it for the maximum bin, which is default at 10k, and then not adjust the minimum bid, which is always like 600 or for a gold or something like that. So everyone's pretty much forcing people to try and open bid on things, which is where you get the true value from the market. If you're a buyer, you need to avoid buy it now and go for open bidding, which requires a bit of manual work because people very keenly contest open bidded items because they can save a lot of money. Whereas if you go buy it now, you're always going to pay 2 or 3 times over the odds.
Yep, exactly.
Due to the way that people are listing things. So I love what squad building challenges have done to the market because of the trading opportunities it creates. But just the actual challenge itself I find really fun to do, and obviously the rewards are potentially brilliant.
So much out there. All I can say is if you're involved in the squad building challenge, there's plenty of other people involved in it as well. For example, I mean, I don't think it's still there, but I was in those ones that like build a team of Spanish and French players or whatever it was. So it meant just like when I was going around trying to find my squad and build it, it meant that I could just be bidding on like some right midfielder who was French, who you're going to need. I could bid on about 6 of them. 2 of them would go through at a really low price, just flipping me straight away. I'm not even trying to trade, but the opportunity is right there in your face. And I can't be the only person doing that. I'm not the only person doing that, but that's like a really easy method if you're like looking to just soft trade as you go around and enjoy the game.
No, the important thing is to find your niche in that respect, because you'll get a squad building challenge with certain criteria, and some people will go for something obvious. Oh, okay, I need French and Spanish. I'll go Premier League, French and Spanish. There's so many other different leagues that you could go for. Like there's Spanish players in the Austrian Bundesliga, like Soriano. No one will go for, but you can get them dead cheap and still flip them for profit. And you can make a little niche for yourself doing that. It's just little things like that just make it really exciting, I think. And I've had 2 particularly big hits on the first couple of squad building challenges. I thought it was really paying out very heavily. I got the one to watch Morata and Philip Lahm in the first 2 squad building challenges I did. So that was like about 120k straight away. So obviously I'm a big fan because I got a good result. But I just enjoy doing them anyway. I think they're great.
Yeah, I've enjoyed doing it. I haven't had lots of successes, but the one that I did have with squad building challenges was Wayne Rooney was given for like 38k for an app. He's toilet now. Yeah.
Exactly, but that's the other important thing, because there's going to be a lot of challenges whereby it asks you to build squads of a certain quality. So you have to become adept to finding players who are high rated in the game that don't cost a lot of money. Now, Rooney isn't necessarily one of those. He's quite expensive for his rating, but there are lots of players who are, say, 82, 83 rated, who sell for literally discard and are perfect for these type of challenges. For example, Thiago and Gabi at Atletico Madrid, perfect for those type of challenges. Always discard price, no one's interested. And
yeah, they're like 84 rated and stuff.
You can corner They're 81 and 82 respectively, but they're ideal for this sort of challenge.
Koke is the one that's 84.
That's right.
He doesn't go for much more than discard either.
That's so weird. He's such a good player in the game. So, and the other really important thing that I wanted to mention about squad building challenges, which may not be obvious to everyone, and it certainly wasn't obvious to me until yesterday, is that you can use untradeable players in squad building challenges. So you can actually trade them now. Which
so good.
It seemed too foolhardy to think the first few squad builders I did, I had a bunch of untradables, and I'm like, well, surely they won't work, and so I just ignored them. And then I just tried it because I only had an untradable for the certain criteria, the challenge that I needed to do, like this Aston Villa Everton thing from yesterday, and it worked. You can put an untradable into the squad build challenge, and it goes. So it's like, I've finally got a use for untradables. I don't just have to bin them to keep me like club clean anymore.
Brilliant. I've got so much time for the squad building challenges. That's why I spent so much time. And it's got to be said that me and you both have still not spent a penny on packs outside of the ones we bought from having the. You had Super Deluxe as well.
Yeah, Super Deluxe. So I get 2 free packs a week, which is fine. It's keeping my team topped up with consumables and even some untradables. So that's always really nice.
Yeah, and it's also with some of them. You know, my first one I got in yesterday. So.
Wow,
that's been nice. So I've had some good pulls, but also the other thing is that because of the squad building challenges and the ability to do some trading, I mean, I got something like 60,000 coins this morning. I've not really tried to have any coins. I've spent nothing.
And it's lovely when the money just comes to you.
Well, this is the thing.
To grind away.
Honestly, I remember playing FIFA 13. I didn't spend a penny on that either. But fuck me, it was so hard to get players and stuff. I didn't really do any trading then, so I didn't really have the time. I just wanted to play the game. I was like, do stuff like playing 2 games and then go and buy a player because that's all I could do. I had such a terrible. I remember buying. Imagine this: it's FIFA 13. Hernan Crespo, not as a legend. Don't forget, it's his final season as a top flight player with Parma. He was dog shit, but still use him in a Maori. I could remember it dead well.
Yeah, Maori was good though because he was still amazing in the air.
Yeah,
no pace. But you had him and Luca Toni, who were ridiculously powerful in the air still.
Numero uno.
And of course, that was the last version of FIFA where headers were seriously OP. So.
Oh, FIFA 14 they were good as well, weren't they? But they got edited very quickly. They patched it up.
The kids got upset because they couldn't pace Hoare, and then it changed. But anyway.
That's very true. So we've been for all that. So general gameplay tips then. I don't really feel like I'm in a position to do much of this. One of the big things is that shielding the ball is probably the new close control. That's the one big thing I've learned. Close control is still quite powerful, but because of lag and stuff like that, it just doesn't work very well. We've already established that the system has changed. But what have you discovered during your winning streak, Mets?
Okay, so a few people have contacted us saying that they're really struggling with the new FIFA and they want some tips on how to be better. So my first thing that I would urge them to play the journey is because it teaches you so much about the basics and forces you to play through training, which I always do at the beginning of every FIFA. It's the interactive equivalent of reading an instruction manual, but it's just important because it will lay out the subtle changes to the game since the last version. Well, let's say you're beyond that and you want something a bit more tangible. So I've always played target man style for the last 2 or 3 years since it became a thing, really. It wasn't necessarily the best way to win in the past. There was a multitude of different ways you could score goals effectively. However, the principles of target man play, which is shielding the ball away from defenders, playing with your back to goal or to the opposition player who's trying to tackle you, you can do in every single position of the pitch on FIFA 17, and it's essential to keeping good possession of the ball. Mm-hmm. So holding that R trigger, which makes you push your backside into the opposition player to shield the ball, you've got to get used to doing that almost every time you receive the ball where you might be marked. Get used to doing that. Just rotating on the ball is enough to throw people off now. You don't have to pull off skill moves, but if you're running in one direction and you don't have an obvious pass, let's say you're heading towards the left of the pitch and all your passing avenues are locked down by defenders, just turn the other way. most people are too proud to go backwards or sideways. They always want to go forward, and that's where they lose the ball. And it sounds really obvious, I know, when I'm saying it, but most people don't do it. Just being a subtle change of direction, even if it's static, and that's what we're specifically referring to, is just rotating on the spot can throw defenders off as to which direction you're going to go to. You've got to be okay with going backwards to go forwards in this game, because quite a lot of the time, this is what I find, and you can tell me if you're experiencing this as well, it's very difficult to win the ball back anywhere but your third of the pitch, due to the way the AI moves. Basically,
I think it's an issue.
They don't put your defenders in a position to intercept. So there's gaping holes for players to put through balls into up until the final third. Then suddenly it gets locked down. So keeping possession in those areas and not wasting too much of your stamina chasing people around when you've got no chance of getting the ball is really important. Whereas in previous versions, playing high pressure and getting two players running at anyone who's got the ball often led to them making a mistake. It won't work in this. There's too much time, there's too much space right up until you get to the final third. So conserve your stamina, because to me, it's the most important thing in this game.
Stamina is really messed up on it, isn't it? Like everybody gets a lot of drain on stamina now.
I like it though, because if you ran around like a headless chicken in real life, you'd be knackered well before the end of the second half. So
yeah, you should be using. I think one tip, and I'm sure you're doing this too. You've got to use run a lot less on this.
Yes.
A lot less.
I escort the player on the ball into my half, where I've got more players who can then close down the passing lanes. So I'll just follow them, which then cuts off a pass in that direction at least, and then basically escorting them into an area of the field where I feel I've got a better chance of getting the ball. That seems to work quite well for me. The other thing is wing play on this, because dribbling's very overpowered in this. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. I like the fact that it is. Dribbling rather than pace is a killer in this if you're good at it.
It is.
And most people don't like crossing the ball, particularly going for headers. It's very anti-Ultimate Team. Now, I do it because that's
I do as well.
Most players like getting a fast player on the ball, dribbling straight down the middle and trying to smack a goal in, which is fine if they want to do that. So we kind of know from experience, most of the time people are going to cut inside when they're playing with someone in a wide position. So you can use custom tactics in the squad before the game and during the game if you want to, where you can actually make the width of your team more narrow, which is really handy if you know you're going to be mostly playing against quick, wingy type players, which you almost always do in Ultimate Team. And what that'll do is make your wide players both in the midfield and in defence tuck in, so there's more space available out wide, so they could get crosses in if they wanted to, but most people don't. And if they try and cut in for passing or shooting, they're going to come up against your players more often in the form of a brick wall, which is really good. But just understanding that most of the time players are going to cut inside and marking that avenue of approach is going to win you the ball loads. And unless they've got a really massive, powerful centre forward, show them down the wide route, mark the inside, let them run wide. And if they toss a ball in, they're not going to score unless they've got a Slimani, an Ibra,
Carroll.
Bonnie, Carroll, that type of player. If they're playing with Rashford, they're not going to score a header or whatever, very rarely, unless they get a load of your players out of position, in which case it's your fault. But those are the most important things for me. If you can master the art of defence through good possession and just like controlling the pitch when you don't have the ball is really important. And I think that's going to help you progress a lot.
Another one for the dribbling side of it as well is that use R1 or RB and pull away from the direction of the goal and just drag the ball back and all that.
Drag backs are very powerful, yeah.
Yeah, you need to be using the R1 a lot more actually now. So yeah, stop getting into that kind of system. Why they've made coast control hard, I've no idea. So I just found it. Somebody was trying to say it wasn't realistic. They play Ultimate Team. Fucking what a weapon. Anybody who takes something from FIFA and says, and if your only retort is, well, it's more realistic that way, then I mean, We're talking about video games. You do know
There's
that.
not a lot in Ultimate Team that's realistic.
There
So
isn't.
why are we picking up on this particular aspect?
Yeah, and why does that make it a good change? But anyway, that's by the by. But what isn't by the by, of course, is the novelty player
Of the
the week.
week.
So Mets, you've picked this one out.
I have.
You
I always
loved
pick
it.
this one out.
I pushed back and said he doesn't look that good, which you refrained from saying, "What the fuck are you talking about?" But we're very polite and said, "No, trust me, he's very, very good." But I'd like you to tell him about it to our audience in a form of a striptease.
Okay, let's do it. I'm only joking.
Oh.
So, I know this one's going to get a lot of flack because looking at the face of the card, you would think this card player not very good, and I would forgive you for thinking so. However, I am the type of person to play with weird and wonderful cards in the name of science. So this is the missing piece from the team that I was telling you about earlier, the work rate team. He's the left-sided midfielder from Chelsea. So he's a little bit expensive at the moment due to the Gareth Barry challenge, but he is very cheap in general. And this is Marcus Alonso.
Ooh,
Only 77 rated. And
Mets, it looks rubbish. What am I missing?
the face card doesn't look great. I forgive you that. But if you go onto Foothead, and I'm going to show it on the screen now,
Yes.
there's a couple of important things about this card that make him particularly useful. First, 6'2", and physicality in this is massive. And I'm not just talking about his physical points; it's his actual physical presence. The fact he's 6'2" by default makes him really powerful. So he's hard to knock off the ball, and of course, he's really good at defending. Now, in the type of system I would envisage him being useful in, which is what I do, is playing a three at the back formation. So this guy is both a fullback and an attacking player, which is why his high work rates are very important.
Oh, yeah.
The most crucial aspect, though, is 90 stamina. Now, stamina in this game is so important, and you're going to say, it's always been important because when players get tired, they play shit. Yes, but they seem to get way tired more quickly than in previous versions of the game, particularly
Definitely 100% agree with that. It's definitely a difference and something that we need to be aware of.
Yeah, and the important thing to realise with stamina, it's not just a case of, it slows your player down. It affects your acceleration and pace. It affects your strength. It affects your reactions. It has a multitude of effects on certain statistics. So whilst you can't improve your stamina with chemistry cards, a lack of stamina greatly affects the ability of that player to play in the latter stages of the match. Whereas with 90 stamina, Alonso's never getting tired. He will last the full length of the game and still have enough fitness left to play the next game without adding a fitness card almost all of the time. And I'm going to indulge you a little bit here because you took one look at this card and said, that looks pretty shit. And I was like, not that impressive. When you play with him, you'll feel the difference. And you could play him at left back at 7 chem, he'd be phenomenal. He's a very handy position player at LM. He's not the type of player who's going to score you loads of goals, but he's great for keeping the ball with. And he's always in the right position due to his work rates and stuff. But if you wanted a bit more, if you add Catalyst, which I'll put again on the screen now, suddenly this card becomes a god. So for those who aren't aware, if you have 10 chemistry on a player and you put Catalyst on him, you'll get a plus 13 pace and plus 10 for passing. So suddenly he has 91 and 92 acceleration and sprint speed. He's got 80 for vision, 88 for crossing, 84 for short passing, and high long passing and curve stats. So suddenly he becomes extremely technical. I don't see a good reason to not buy this player because the Catalyst cards are like a few hundred. So let's say your overall investment is going to be 1,000 for an absolutely phenomenal player. Like I said, play him at left back is really good. Or if at some point during the game you have a central midfielder or CDM who gets tired, shift him into the middle and then put someone else out wide who's got more pace. He plays really good in the middle because of his strength and his height and his all-round ability. Because most of his stats are 70 to 75 plus. And then he's got a few that are slightly better than that. But I guarantee this is the type of player no one in Ultimate Team will use because one, they think he's just a left back and they've got his position wrong. His card stats on the face of it don't look great, but I guarantee you it works as long as you've got high chemistry and you can put a chemistry card on that suits your needs, we recommend Catalyst, but you might want to go something like Engine.
Engine's very good. Like I say,
or maybe even Shadow.
Engine, because you get the extra little bit of, whilst it's a little bit less pace, you do get the more of the dribbling as well. So yeah, definitely Engine. That'd be great.
Yeah, so there's plenty of options for you there. The card, once the Gareth Barry challenge is over, won't cost much, and I'm sure it's already dying down after the original hype. I really like it. Works great for my team. Highly recommend it at almost no coins. He's a really great find.
Fantastic. I'm happy to put him in the Novelty Player of the Week Hall of Fame. Marcus Alonso, a left back who's becomes a left winger, especially with a chemistry card. Smack it on there and let us know how you get on with him. And with that, Mets, we need to talk about a Novelty Inform of the Week.
We do. This is slightly trickier because this Team of the Week genuinely doesn't have any what I would define as a novelty player, with the exception of maybe Abdenua from Valencia, but I'm not that interested in him, to be honest. So
he's a defender as well, isn't he? So
yeah, I've had to pick somebody who's, on the lower side of a really good inform, and I've gone for Mario Mandzukic. Now, unfortunately, Foothead doesn't have his full list of stats published yet, so we just have to go off what's on the face card. But given how this game plays, with a penchant for strong strikers being very, very dominant, and Mandzukic is plus 70 pace, so he's got enough pace to be a pain on the backside. His finishing's incredible. His physicals are insane. So if you like heading, this guy is going to be almost unstoppable. And because there's more fancied strikers in Serie A, like your Dybalas and Higuains and stuff, I don't think, even for an 85 rated inform, it's going to be that expensive. So I think it's going to be a really good one. Now, time will tell once the full stats gets published and people start playing it. We'll see how it turns out. But if you need an unusual option for Serie A or a Croatian hybrid, I think it's going to be a really good card. And I can't see it being more than about 30k once the prices die down.
And I think the other thing as well is sticking Hawk on him would be rather tasty. So that's +8 on pace, +7 on shooting, +5 on physicals. So
Indeed. And just whilst we're on the subject of the Team of the Week, there's a couple of options that might be worth your consideration even at this early stage, because I don't think it's too early to start planning your St. Paddy's Day team, because it's going to be far cheaper now than it is later. You've got Seamus Coleman in there. I would, as an inform, consider picking him up over the weekend once his price comes down. You've also got a bronze one, Shepherd from Cork City, who's 88 pace for a right winger, and now McGeady's been massively downgraded to like 70-something pace. This might be the right-sided player of choice for St. Paddy's Day now, and because there's no bronze or silver tournaments, the informs for bronze are going really cheap. You can probably get him for under 10k. So it might be worth buying now and sitting on until, when there's Paddy's? February, something like that?
March.
Okay, so it's a long time to sort of plan ahead, I realise. But if you have coins sitting there doing nothing, which a lot of us do, then I would recommend perhaps picking one of those up if they're cheap. And of course, you're going to get the natural inflation of prices of informs between now and then anyway, so you might see an opportunity to make money on him before then. But if you keep him for St. Paddy's, you've probably got a good chance of him being your starting right-sided player now that McGeady's been made pretty shit. And he's still got his 5-star skills, but he's slower than he has been in previous versions. I think he's something like 77 pace.
Yeah, Aidan McGeady's always had a bit of a charm life on FIFA. He's always flattered to deceive, hasn't he, for the last few years, especially since he left Celtic.
Yeah, agreed. He's not always cracked up to the, excuse the pun.
Indeed. And with that, Mets, that is the end of another FUTStock.
Wow. Well, it was really good to finally get around to speaking to you. I wish we could have done one together at the weekend, but we were too busy enjoying real life, so we just got to put up with us via the power of the internet, but never mind.
Indeed. So there's another stolen catchphrase. Yep. But I'd like you to see us out today with your patented yet stolen goodbye.
Yes, thanks all for tuning in. Don't forget, if you've got any questions or want to say hello, contact us at FUTStock on Twitter. And of course, don't have nightmares. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you.